Hello again, everyone. It's Jerry, Old Guy Review, with something a little different today. Status report. 8 o'clock in the morning, 15 degrees below zero. It's going to get up to 21. It was up to almost 20 yesterday. And I turned my heat down in the workshop. So while I'm waiting for it to get warm so I can get back to detailing, I figured I had another vehicle on the bench that I was going to work on anyways. Down the road, I figured today, right now, was a good time since temperature doesn't really matter. So this is Ask a Question, Get an Answer for Dwight Kuhl. Now, I had to think about this one for a couple days because it's not RC related. But because I was asked, now I've thought about it. I thought, what the hell? I am just tinkering right now, so I'll do it. And his question, as a new subscriber, was, he is an Army vet like me. He wanted to hear about my military service. Now, what has caused me the brief bit of pause is the fact that, first of all, I know I have a high caliber of viewers. But regardless of that, there are people who don't like the military. They may say they like the military, but they're nervous around military people, ex-military people. In particular, I've noticed if you've been anywhere. So that was my hesitancy, but I said screw it. If I lose some subscribers because they don't like the mean ex-military people, then farewell. Everyone else, I want at the end of the video, let me know if you have any military service. And because I've worked with multiple branches, national branches, I've worked with Canadians, I've worked with Belgians, I've worked with the English, I've even worked with some French, I've worked with the Thais. Military is military. If we wear a uniform to defend our country in any way, shape, or form, then we are all brothers. So, here you go, Dwight. This is all for you. And you were wondering about our ages, if we're the same. I am 48 years old. I joined the military, or I should say I signed my papers in 1990 as a 17-year-old with my mommy's signature. I didn't go to basic training until 91, where I was 18 at that point. My family has a history of military service. On my mom's side, we go all the way back to the Civil War. And our family's been in America since the 1600s. So, my father was in the Air Force. My mother was in the Navy. My brother was in the Navy. I have uncles and cousins who were in the Marines, and we were in the U.S. Army. And for some odd reason, I always figured I was going to be in the military. I always wanted to be in the military, always playing Army, Air Force, Navy. I'm a huge World War II naval ship buff. So it was always kind of assumed that I was going to go in the Navy. But the ocean is scary shit. That thing is big. It does what it wants. And you can take an aircraft carrier and that thing will look like a boat in your bathtub. So, meanwhile, I loved big ships and their history and their functions. Not a big fan to get on one. And other than some landing craft when I was in the military, I have never been on a big ship in the ocean. So, land lover. So, when I joined the military, I wanted to be in the 10th Mountain Division because that put me smack dab in the middle of Michigan and upstate New York, where all my family lived. Well, no promises when I enlisted, but my oldest brother was a police officer, so I always wanted to be a cop. Well, I figured, I could be an MP or an SP or whatever the Marines call them. Probably still SP. But I was told that law enforcement at the time didn't care for MPs because they're trained different. But meanwhile, they said, if you want to go infantry, we got no problem with the infantry, which blew my mind. So let's take the crazy grunts on the ground who run around, blow everything up, are generally crazy, but they'll make a good cop. So I said, whatever. Took my test, my aptitude test for what military job I was good for. And even at 17, I was already working in an automotive shop. So all my returns came back for some sort of mechanic, tanks, military armored vehicles, Humvees, everything to keep the ball rolling. Well, there's the mind of a young child, 17, 18 years old. Hey, I might need a job down the road as a civilian. Maybe I should go with the mechanical thing so I'm got all my certifications that says I can be a good mechanic. Nope. Let's go blow shit up and be the first guys that bullets fly into if you ever go anywhere. So that was it. Signed up for infantry. My dad was not very happy. I had already tried to go the Air Force route, so I would be a pilot, because if you're in the Air Force, you're going to be a pilot. My grades were good enough to go to the Air Force Academy, but meanwhile, my eyesight wasn't that good. So I missed that shot. Always was at odds with my father. We never saw eye to eye. And there it was, another letdown for him. I let him down again. Couldn't even get in the Air Force. Well, I could have. I could have done something else. But he agreed with me. If I was going the Air Force route, I should be a pilot. So instead, I went with the Army. Went to basic training, Fort Benning, Georgia. First time I ever flew on an airplane. First time I'd ever been away from home for, no. I spent a lot of time with my family in upstate New York and living in Michigan, so I was away a lot. But first time on an airplane. And I'm pretty sure it's because of my dad. When I was growing up, never was good enough. Never made him happy. That when I got in the military, I wanted to learn and do everything. So I was a little bit weird in basic training because I was constantly asking questions, constantly volunteering to do things because I just wanted to do the best. Well, lo and behold, Army life seemed to agree with me. I had a shot to get in the 10th Mountain. All I had to do was learn how to shoot a missile at tanks, which at the time they were called Dragon. You were a Dragon gunner. And it was called a Dragon because when you shot the missile, it smoked like crazy and had crazy colors of lights that shot out of the back of it. Life expectancy in combat, 11 seconds. 18-year-old kid. Sign me up for that. That looks like what I want to do. So as luck had it, I was pretty good at shooting tanks. Showed up at my new duty station, Fort Drum, New York, 3rd Battalion, 14th Infantry. Doesn't even exist anymore. And I was a team leader of a 3-man Dragon team. Seemed that being in charge for the first time in my life was pretty good. So from that point, we spent a lot of time, 10th Mountain Division. We trained all the time. We went all over the states. We went to Panama a couple times. I ended up going there 3 times. I tried to train on everything I possibly could. And once again, luck was shining. Anti-tank gunning, you're not always shooting tanks in every situation. So we had a book at the time that outlined all the different jobs we could do. So I ended up getting trained up as a sniper, as a scout. I got to learn a bunch of different equipment that usually there's a specialized guy in every unit that does it. But because we were spread out doing a lot of cool things, I got to do that. Trained up on all the fancy technology that was going on at the time. And then we got a call in 1992 to go to a little place in Africa called Somalia. Up until this point, I didn't get to prove to the United States Army that they were getting their money's worth out of me. Almost 6 months later, I proved myself, and I proved to myself that they got their money's worth. So after that, I was a bit more gung-ho, I guess, if I can use a gung-ho as for a Marine term, that I wanted to do more and more stuff. Well, I'd already re-enlisted once. In 1993 was when I met my first wife, who I figured knew what she was getting into, marrying a soldier. I wasn't even 21 at the time, got married. Looking back now, except for my boy, that's it. I didn't need to get married. But meanwhile, after we came back from Somalia, we had some downtime, did a lot of training, but then we got tasked to go to West Point, New York, where they train officers. Oh, to train young soldiers who thought at the time they already had the rank they haven't earned yet. You can't talk to me like that. I'm a lieutenant. You ain't shit. You're a kid in school. You haven't earned your commission yet. Get down and do push-ups. Oh, that was fun. Well, I was getting close to where I had to start thinking about what I wanted to do. It was getting probably a year away from my next enlistment. And my wife was now pregnant. And I ended up getting to go to a little place called Haiti. Now, Haiti was more of just a peacekeeping mission. But out of all my deployments all over the country, all over to foreign nations. It was the only deployment that I almost didn't come home from. And my good friend, Chris Krebs, he doesn't watch this channel. He doesn't watch RC, so I know he's not even going to see it. Saved my ass. Now, if he was a dick, he wouldn't have saved my ass because I stole my wife from him. But luckily he wasn't a dick. He was a good friend. He's still a good friend because once you've served together, you're friends for life, no matter what. But I came back and I had a brand new baby boy. Or no, I'd been back for a while when I had a brand new baby boy. And I had re-enlisted to go to Alaska because I had heard good things. My wife had a friend who her and her dad came here every year. So it was already kind of getting rocky with me being gone all the time. So I figured a fresh start would do. Someplace she wants to go and she wants to see. Well, I said as long as it helped our marriage out, helped, keep my military career going, good training, good deployments, just the things I was looking for. Ha! I was wrong. This place sucked to be in the military. You went back in time. They were using equipment up here I hadn't used in 5 years. Actually, some of it I only used in basic training. So we did some deployments here. The only good training I got, really good training, was when we went somewhere else. The landscape of Alaska sucks. For hiking, for moving, it's daytime all the time, daylight all the time in the summer. The wintertime, it gets so cold, they don't even want you to be outside. So I was just like, what the hell? Well, at this point, I had tore my knees up really bad. And there was no surgery the Army would do for me. So the only option was to medically chapter me out or to give me a new job. Well, my thinking at the time was, I'm not a vagina. Give me another job. And we went full circle in the motor pool. I had already been in a support platoon, and they saw that I could work on vehicles. I wasn't supposed to work on vehicles, but I did anyways. So for that 2 years, and as usual, I looked for other training that I could do, and I got into hazmat. So for the 2 years, I was a mechanic and I was the hazmat NCO, which worked out good when I got out, that I spent a couple years doing that in the civilian world as a contractor, which that's where the money is. I just dribbled that right on my shirt. So at this point, toward the end, was where my marriage was pretty much done. I had my child most of the time. At that point, I could not be a single dad in the Army infantry. So I had to put my Army dreams or hopes or whatever. I didn't have very many at that point. I was so disgruntled with the Army in Alaska. So I decided I'm not re-enlisting. I'm getting a civilian job and I'm taking care of my child. And that was it. Bare minimum. So in 1999, I got out and took a break of 2 weeks before I started my new job. As a civilian hazmat, what the hell were we called? Environmental consultants. Whew, sounds nice. So, another thing the United States Army gave me, if I had not decided to stay here, I would not have met my second wife, which heading towards 16 years of blissfulness, A lot longer than I was with my first wife, but bliss. So there you go, a brief synopsis of my military time. You know, I piss and moan about Alaska, but I can look out my window in the workshop here. I can see through the trees my neighbor's house, but it's covered with snow, so it just looks like a hill. There's just no place like here. Yeah, the temperature sucks. The temperature swings suck. The snow sucks, but all that stuff sucks everywhere. You know, once summer gets here, whether it's raining, whether it's sunny out, it doesn't matter. It is just beautiful. And I can drive in any direction and in 20 minutes can be out in the wilderness. So it's tough to be here with just my current family, but I love it to death. And now that I don't have to go outside when I don't want to, regardless, it's so much nicer. But that is it. I hope that works, Dwight. Everyone else, I hope that you don't get upset because this wasn't about RC and I was just ranting about me. But it was requested by a viewer, so it's okay. So I am getting back to my little project here. I think I heard one of the batteries go off while we were talking. Duratrax Cliff Climber, 112 scale. Bringing it back to life. We'll have a video on that later down the road. In case you've been wondering this whole video, what the hell are you working on? It's starting to warm up a little bit. So I don't know about doing any painting yet, but that's it. Tell me if you hate the video. Tell me if it was okay. Tell me if you're not getting these, 20-something minutes back. Sorry. So, until the next time, bye-bye.